Hi, I'm Shalini Bhardwaj. You all are watching ITV Networks Medically Speaking. So today what we are going to discuss about what explosive second wave is telling us about COVID-19. We have with us on our panel Dr. Ashok Seth, who is a chairperson of Fortis Escorts Hospital. We have with us Mr. Pavanex Kohli, who is a former CEO and Chief Advisor, National Center for Cold Chain Development, that is your NCCD. We have with us Dr. Ishwar Gilada, who is a consultant in HIV and infectious diseases and General Secretary of People's Health Organization. And later we will have Dr. Dhiren Gupta, who is a senior pediatrician at Sir Gangaram Hospital. Sir, welcome to Medically Speaking.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My first question goes to Dr. Ashok Seth. Sir, what explosive second wave is telling us about COVID-19? Because daily we can see the surge, the number of cases are increasing.
This is extremely worrying. And we have got to understand multiple factors about this wave, which is different to the first.
Sir, what are those factors?
Apart from the fact that it's the steepest rise that we've actually come across in the COVID wave, we also see that it's in different circumstances altogether. It's when the when the country has unlocked completely, the life has normalized around us, different to last time when the COVID wave was there, and yet people were scared and less on the streets and less out and far more cautious. Thirdly, people have, either due to COVID fatigue or due to careless and callousness wanting to normalize themselves, have given up all aspects of COVID appropriate behavior, so that masking, distancing are no more prevalent, as you can see through numerous visuals and as you can see through your own experiences. And finally, this may actually be a variant, a mutant, which is spreading far more rapidly and affecting a younger age group, and therefore far more vicious in its outcomes. These four are very important. And finally, let me just address a very final important point. This wave is even more worrying because it has the ability to overwhelm the infrastructure. Last wave was when the number of other patients, non-COVID patients, were less in our hospitals. People were still scared to come to the hospital. Routine emergencies were only happening, and less number of patients were coming for other procedures, including whether it's trauma, whether it's surgeries, whether it's heart attacks, whether it's... Now, the infrastructure is overwhelmed on one side with all those patients who needed procedures and had postponed them, already filling up the hospitals. And on the other side is this COVID wave taking a vicious form. I think these are the very worrying aspects which have the ability to overwhelm our infrastructure and affect it in a far bigger and worse manner than the last time.
Definitely, sir. Mr. Pavanex, sir, I would like to know what exactly went wrong. Do you think it is due to inappropriate behavior, mutant variant, or vaccination? And as earlier, in December, you said that prioritizing the COVID vaccine for frontline workers would run the risk of allowing the coronavirus to mutate against the vaccine. What exactly went wrong according to you?
Yeah, Shalini, besides behavior, vaccine delays, virus fatigue, amongst all of these things, the most important thing is that we did not leverage the one, call it ammunition we had in our armor, which was the vaccine, and deploy it in a way that we stunt and stump the growth of the virus in the population. By initially selecting and doing selective vaccination, we actually spread our defense mechanisms very thin and exposed the virus to our defense mechanism. And if you see all these strains, by and large, it's the spike protein which is mutated. The whole virus is not, it's not a new virus, it's still COVID-19, it's not COVID-21 or some other new coronavirus, right? So it has mutated to counter our defense mechanism, And that one defense mechanism, we should have actually deployed it and spread it in such a way that COVID did not find recipients to spread onwards. So this sort of mindset where we say we will identify a set amount of people, we should have followed a more geographic spread to a vaccination. I don't think we can even claim today a particular village, forget the city or the entire very thin. So it allows COVID within our geography, COVID-19, to still continue to spread. And the more it spread, the more opportunity it has to mutate and counter our defenses. I've always said, even before our first lockdown, I think it was the first time in the world when I said, we must already start planning to make sure our vaccination is not limited in its scope. Dr. State just now said, then infrastructure is getting overwhelmed with people who need to come in for treatment. It's also overwhelmed with hundreds and hundreds of people who are coming even for the vaccine. Now, why should vaccination happen only in the hospitals? It may not be choking, the vaccination program may not choke the actual treatment rooms, but it's actually choking the very entry to the hospital. It's making that more risky as well. People are scared to go to the hospital even today, even for vaccination. Why is not being taken up our stadiums, our schools, our five-star hotels, which are largely empty, our movie halls? Why are we not deploying vaccination over there? Why do we need only health workers to give a vaccine? It's an easy enough training system. Within 2 or 3 days, you can train thousands and thousands of people to give vaccines. As you're aware, I was earlier in my previous avatar a sailor. I was a ship captain for 27 years. Even each one of us was trained to give injections. And there are, enough people around. I'm sure even Dr. Saab here would not be a regular administrator of injections. It's nurses do it. You go to places, compounders do it. I could serve as a compounder. So we need to make sure that our last mile, our spread of vaccines is well planned, and our cold chain services that, and we expand our footprint. One last thing, I'll just, we have, if you see, we have some 55,000 vaccination sites. That's premises. And even if each is having one session, and it was declared that we would have 100 vaccinations per session, if even each has one session, that's 100 a day, 55,000, we should have 5.5 million vaccine doses being given. Today, if you see, 1.2 or 1.3 million is the best. Max we have ever peaked on a weekly average is about 2 million. Look at America, started later, have less of an extensive network. They're already touching 4 or 5 million. In another 10 days, they'll be saying everyone above 18 should be able to get the vaccine. They are expecting in another 10 days, 50% of the population would have at least the first dose. We don't even have 75 million. I think it's 75 or 80 million people who have the first dose at the moment. So we need to ramp up and we need to plan beyond. We must learn from what we've done and then learn to scale it up. It's not a medical problem anymore. The disease, the illness is a medical problem. The virus was a medical science problem already resolved because the vaccine has been developed. It's now a supply chain problem, which has to be managed by people who know how to deploy the supply chain the best. Doctors cannot operate the supply chain. Scientists cannot. So we must get more people involved, get the private sector involved, get more vaccination sites. For elections, we have a site, an election booth every 2 kilometers. America has a vaccination site within 5 miles of anyone living. I don't think we've even planned that. If wherever there are hospitals, deploy those hospitals and clinics to give vaccines. So it should be a little bit more structured, and we can do it. We do the world's biggest elections in phases. In 5 phases, we can do the whole country. It's not a supply side issue. Serum Institute says minimum production is 2 million doses a day. Minimum. Yeah. So we must deploy as much as we can so that they can produce more. Bharat Biotech can produce more. I personally favor the whole virion as a vaccine rather than the RNA code for a spike protein which is mutating. But those are other discussions. But I think we can scale up, learn from our current lessons, see where we've been successful, see where we made mistakes, and make sure that we spread the administering of vaccine more rather than keeping it narrow and limited only to existing hospitals. and then adding load to the hospital. Oh, that's not right.
Yeah, Dr. Ishwar, sir, vaccine is getting wasted in Maharashtra, and Maharashtra is running out of oxygen cylinder, remdesivir, blood plasma. Why this is happening?
See, if you understand, Shalini, the second wave in Maharashtra or in India is faster than the first wave. And anywhere else in the world also, second wave was faster than or much severe than the first wave. Third wave is much serious than first and second together. That we have seen in America or Europe. So we should have expected. It is not that we should not have, we think that suddenly we were caught unawares. We are not understanding. Number one. Number two, everything else of first wave and second wave, first wave didn't have vaccine. We have vaccine now. We didn't have enough bed that time. We have enough beds now. We have enough oxygen now, enough ICU beds now. But what has happened is that people's behavior has not changed. I'm not saying it has gone worse, but it has not changed. So if you look at the East, like Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Japan, they have 100% masking, 95%, 98% always. Because even prior to COVID, they had 40, 50% masking. Here, masking is not more than 40% in big cities, even in Mumbai. And out of which 50% do not use mask properly.
They have taken things granted, sir.
Yeah, take it for granted. And people have attitude that government will do something, society will do something, I will not do anything. Now, when we understand this is a respiratory virus, and when everywhere there is a virus, so we cannot shut everywhere. We can shut your mouth. We can close your mouth. You can close your nose, but that is not happening. And lastly, what is happening in Maharashtra currently is going to happen in the entire country. So don't think that Maharashtra is the only Munni you can say, Munni badnaam hai, Maharashtra badnaam hai. You look at two states, I will give you example, UP and Bihar. UP had 121 cases in the entire country on 10th of March. Yesterday they crossed 6,000. That means 50 times jump in just 25 days. Bihar had only 44 cases on one day of 10th of March. Yesterday Bihar crossed 1100. So 25 times jump in 25 days.
Most of the states are not testing, even they are hiding the cases also.
I'm not bothered about testing, how many tested. I'm talking about the number of jump available. Maharashtra jumped 4 times in last 25 days. So Maharashtra, though the numbers is very big number, overwhelming number, but other places are becoming worse than Maharashtra. You look at Chhattisgarh, very small state. Yesterday they reported 11,000 cases. So number one, what we should look at is not real numbers. We should look at the speed with which it is growing. Number two, numbers per million. Numbers per million, Maharashtra is number 6th in the country, not first. Delhi, Goa, Pondicherry, Kerala, and Ladakh, they are ahead of Maharashtra. Maharashtra is number 6. I'm not taking side of Maharashtra. Maharashtra is 4 times more number of cases than population as per national standard. We are 8.8% population. We are reporting 24%, 25% of cases. So we are bad. But currently, number one, vaccination is not going to prevent your second surge. It is going to happen. Vaccination can prevent third surge. What UK has done brilliantly, they decided to vaccinate at least first dose to most people. Let us delay the second dose. And that we should have done. WHO had certified that the second dose of Covishield, or which is AstraZeneca in UK, is better works when it is second dose after 8 to 12 weeks. But Government of India has agreed only 6 to 8 weeks. So what we should do first dose as early as possible. Secondly, as Dr. Kohli said, that we should open up more and more centers. I will go one step beyond him. There are 12,70,000 MBBS qualified doctors in India. There are 3,70,000 postgraduate doctors. So there are 17 lakh MBBS plus doctors. We are not talking about BMS, etc. So if only 20% of them are deployed for injection, Dr. Kohli thought that I'm not giving injection. I do every day at least 15, 20 injections in my clinic. They are pneumonia vaccine, hepatitis B vaccine, typhoid vaccine, we are giving. So deploy all these doctors and make their clinics or hospitals as centers for vaccination. Why do people have to go and wait for a couple of hours in vaccination center and risk themselves to get COVID there? There are people who caught COVID in the line for queue for COVID injection. It's a ridiculous thing happening in India. So we should, I have written to Honorable Prime Minister. Some of the suggestions are being implemented. For example, vaccination on holidays and Sunday, Maharashtra government started that. Vaccination for 2 shifts, that started. They're increasing more centers. But vaccine wastage, number one, each vial has 11 doses, not 10. They officially 10. So rather than wasting, they can vaccinate one more extra person in that vial. Secondly, they are wasting one dose. So there is at least 20% wastage, and that should be stopped. In Maharashtra, they say 3%, 4%, even that is not allowed. Because if you are, like Dr. Kohli said, we can teach people, anybody can give vaccine. Yes, that's what has been done by government. So they taught people who were not proficient in vaccine, asking them to find out where is deltoid muscle, where is tricep, how do you fill up the syringe, how do you remove the air bubble, and by removing air bubble, they are removing the vaccine also.
Right.
But there are qualified people, as I said, doctors, but there are nurses, there are technicians, everybody can give injection. We have been teaching our patients who are diabetic patients how to take injection. They are taking themselves.
Exactly.
So it's not a rocket science. What is rocket science is basically cold chain management. I am
And
not sure.
maximum utilization of resources.
Maximum utilization, cold chain management, supply chain mechanism. Currently, Maharashtra said yesterday, today morning, health minister says, we are run out of the vaccine stock. After 3 days, we will stop vaccination. What is nonsense? What you're playing with people? India is manufacturer of 60% of the global vaccine supply. And you say that Pune is about 150 kilometers from Mumbai. If you are running out of stock in Mumbai, you can send a van and get the vaccine. Why you have to depend on government of India? So everywhere, delegation of responsibility is not happening, totally centralized system. Maharashtra government or any government doesn't want to spend from their pocket. They want government of India to supply free of charge. Then whoever want to pay, they want to recover money from them, and asking doctors to buy, hospital to buy in advance, and then whether it is wasted or not, they are not concerned. There's something ridiculous is happening. What we should have done, vaccine is available in government free of charge, at some places subsidized, at other places at cost. Whatever is MRP, maybe 500. Yes, I was asked to go to vaccination center and wait for 2 hours, 3 hours. In 2 hours, I earn 2,000, 5,000 my practice. Why should I waste my 2 hours and stand there? I should take vaccine in my clinic. That is not supplied. So we need to relook at everything.
Rope in
And
maximum
as I said,
centers. That is important. Dr.
Third
Seth, sir,
vaccination
what can be done as of now? What you would like to suggest, sir?
So there are two aspects to this. And you know, we're fighting a battle against a vicious enemy, which is changing its shape and form. And we are always behind. It's fine for initial policies to say, okay, let's vaccinate the healthcare workers, which is correct. And let's vaccinate the frontline workers as rapidly as possible, because these are the people who are treating. And then I would also agree that that's where you actually start your supply chain. You just fine tune it. You actually make sure that your systems are into place. And you start actually in the next 15 days, making sure that you have got the systems into place to actually expand it. The saddest part is the expansion of it has been slow. And one doesn't mind that, okay, there was this whole proportion of, see, we're trying to save deaths, and we must remember that elderly do die, comorbid people die. And that's a part of it. And if we save deaths in our country, which is a 1.2 billion people which live in congested surroundings, that's a very huge aspect, because deaths can overwhelm us, let alone admissions. Just deaths can overwhelm our own infrastructure. So that was also okay. But we are now in a phase where, and I would say this phase goes back a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 4 weeks, where we should have actually opened up. Once you're opening up, open it up properly. Not just when I say in terms of ages. I don't see what's the point between 45 to 60, no comorbidities, etc. Once 60s and above have been done, then it's just open to everybody. There is the supply of vaccine. After all, we've exported vaccine. And then on the other hand, we actually say, but there's not enough supply to everybody. And that's why we are creating all these priorities. And yet we've exported millions of doses of vaccines. We've gifted them away. Maybe we were gifted them when there was a stockpile and we weren't giving enough. But really, in the last 4 weeks, the COVID numbers are rising. We should be going out vaccinating, and we should be actually expanding the centers to multiple. Having said that, we must also remember that even at the moment, while we say we expand centers, we give it to others, I would certainly go away with the age, and I'll tell you why. It's not the centers so much. There are numerous centers which are not actually being full at the moment. They're not even getting those numbers they're getting the vaccines, but the number of people are lower than expected. And they still actually are equipped for 100 to 200 patients. And if it's 200, they end up vaccinating only 150 people. And that, while we can call it hesitancy and we could say persuasion hona chahiye, and we got to do everything to get people out of this hesitancy, but also if we just open it up to a vaster population, those slots would be full. We won't be going with centers with empty slots. So it puzzles me sometimes that when we say that these centers are still not filling up enough, on the other hand, there are people waiting to be vaccinated only because we have slotted it and are not giving it to them. So we will only expand further, of course, and those slots are full, and those slots could be full. Believe you me, they wouldn't go empty had it been opened up to everybody above the age of 18. So the argument around not having the doses, not having the chain is flawed. Is flawed immensely, and Serum Institute has so many times announced, and so has Bharat Biotech announced, that they have multiple, they can actually manufacture it multiple times. They only need the yes to go ahead and manufacture it multiple times, and they would do so. I think we need to just open up now. See, after all, we've only got 2 tools in our hand. There is no treatment for COVID at the moment. We must know that. There is no treatment. Apart from the fact that steroids save deaths, there is no other treatment. Yes, we have anticoagulation. We've got some things to prevent complication, but there is no treatment. And the only treatment which has come through, perhaps the most robust treatment, which saves lives and prevents severe disease, is actually the vaccine. And of course, the other thing we all know is our COVID appropriate behavior. But COVID appropriate behavior, we have tried to drum into this country. Our voices have gone hoarse. Everybody knows it. Everybody understands it. But we actually live in indiscipline on one hand. And then, of course, we live in circumstances of pure socioeconomic circumstances in others where distancing is perhaps a joke when people live in a small room and 5 people and whole families live in a small room. So for some, it's a joke because of socioeconomic status, and for others, it's a farce. This example I'll give you that, Dr. Girada said that perhaps 25% wear masks. No, it's even lesser. It's surprising. You go into a bank, enclosed space. This is supposed to be maintaining the best COVID appropriate behavior. And you actually see what's happening. You can go into an enclosed space and you can only have less than 5% wearing masks properly, less than 10% wearing masks properly. And then you have another 10%, you have 15%, 40 to 20% wearing masks inappropriately. And then you have 50% wearing no masks at all. For them, mask is not there at all. And nobody actually questions the fact that you're not just doing, it's not an injustice. I would call it a criminal offense. Lack of inappropriate COVID behavior should be considered as criminal offense because you're not actually just doing it to yourself. Now, you have the ability to harm yourself, do whatever you want, smoke, create lung cancer, that's your problem. But there is no reason and right for you to transfer COVID onto anybody else. And unless it's not a civic duty, it's not a civic sense, it's actually a law, it should be a rule, it should be a criminal offense.
That's true,
And,
sir.
This is only what is going to get us. After all, we are a 1.2 billion country, and my other colleagues would agree that even when we open up, even when we go to the biggest and vastest level, it'll still take us a long time to vaccinate 70% of this 1.2 billion population, which will get us to herd immunity, hopefully. And if it's going to take us that time, we're still going to have to live with appropriate behavior, and the appropriate behavior has to become a part of our life. And if it can't become a part of our life, it is like seat belts. It's against the law if you don't wear a mask. It is exactly like driving on the wrong side of the road. It's against the law. And you not just can be punished, you can actually be jailed for it. We've got to come to that perhaps in our own country, because discipline is not our biggest quality in this country, and we all know that, unfortunately.
So true, sir.
If I may add something here, Shalini.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
I think this approach, while we've done it, and it's been somewhat adopted from how minds in the West were thinking, first give it to frontline workers, people with comorbidities, where everyone is equated the same. We must keep in mind, India is a country with acute malnutrition, undernourished people, not just obese, undernourished children. Are their lives not important? Or have you even categorized that? My parents are 90 years old. They've got their first dose. We will be going for the second dose, but they hardly get out of the house at that age. They may be comorbid. And what about the poor beggar's child? So again, I say we must have, or we should now in the future, demarcate geographically. Within that geography, yes, prioritize frontline workers there first, but then make sure that in 21 days or 20 days, that entire geography is vaccinated. It's not dispersing the vaccine or one ammunition across the whole country and then say we'll do the whole country's herd immunity in say 10 years. The other aspect is that I don't think this country has so much of vaccine hesitancy. After all, on average, all of us have gone through 9 to 12 vaccines as we were growing up. India has a very high level of vaccinations children. It's hesitancy to go to a hospital, like Dr. Gilani was saying also. Why should I go to a hospital and expose myself to that? Because the hospital is already where the sick are going. So we need to make sure that we do expand outside our hospitals to do. And Dr. Seth, I think we must aim for the moon and even higher. We have about 70% of our entire population, which goes, we prepare for 70%. In fact, the entire adult population, male or female, with for elections above 18, which is 900 million people. And in 4 phases, we make sure that it is all done. 65 to 70% of our entire population is around 900 million people, 850 million people. In phases, we can do it. We demonstrated every 5 years to the world that we prepare for that. We go for one voter all the way to Gir Forest or something. Yeah. So if we make sure we spread, we open 2 lakh voting booths, none more than 2 kilometers by law from any one person's residence. We've not structured this that way because yes, we were worried, will we have enough vaccine? But now, like you're saying, the vaccine system it's possible to make sure that it gets ramped up if we have offtake. Offtake, if we analyze, depends, what have we done so far? Whatever was coming, some we didn't pick up, so we had to send abroad because we did not have enough administrating points. If you analyze, supply side is not a problem if you believe what Serum Institute and Bharat Biotech are saying, and I believe they're saying the truth, they can ramp it up in multiples. We have declared only 55,000 sites. We can double those number of sites and we can go outside of the hospital. Most of us are hesitant to go to a hospital for the vaccine. But if it is there available in a community center, in a stadium, in a well spread out, say, hotel, you can go for a vaccine for a McDonald's, get a vaccine and
so thank you, Mr. Pavanek Kohli, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ashok Seth. Thank you, Dr. Ishwar. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me on Medically Speaking.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.